Hi, I'm Ben Hanawalt, Product Specialist here at Atlas Copco, and today we're going to be talking about the PF6000. Let's take a look down in the software. Today we're going to be talking about source batches and how to set up a scanner on a PF6000. So if we follow along in the software, when we look at the main menu, up at the top right corner we're going to see our sources menu. If we click into the sources menu, you'll notice we have two options on the left-hand side. We have a tightening option and we have a batch sequence option. Now, when using a scanner, you can only set it up to run with a batch sequence. So keep that in mind. Here you can see I already have a batch sequence set up for field bus selection. I'm going to set up an additional. So up at the top right corner, I'm going to add a source batch. And then it's going to take me into the settings. So when I go into the settings, we're going to see a couple of different options here. The main option being that we're going to want this to be set up in strings configuration. If I set it up as a number configuration, that would be for other uses. So strings is going to be what we're going to use to set it up to use it with a scanner. Now, we also have the option for abort on new identifier. This basically means if we see an additional scan, we're going to abort the batch sequence where it's at and start it from wherever this new scan occurs. Now, we have the next option down. This is going to be free order. So free order basically just means that we do not care what order the scans occur in. So if we have 3 or 4 scans, we can say that we do not care what order those scans occur in. For this example, I'm actually going to keep free order off, so I'm going to require them to be scanned in a certain sequence. And typically when I do this test, like right now I have a water bottle right next to me, and there's always a barcode on a water bottle. So I've got 2 different water bottles with 2 different barcodes. So what I'm going to do is show you how to set this up from scratch. When we go into the identifier string configuration, this is the really important part. So if I click into the identifier string configuration, each one of these, so if I add an additional one, those are each going to be a separate scan. Now on a PF6000, we can have up to 4 scans with a total length of 1024, which is also the length of a 2D barcode. So if I do click in, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to want to define a different length for each one, and this will be a differentiating factor to make sure that we don't scan incorrectly. So if I look at my 2 scans that I have set up, I actually have a 10, so a length of 10 for one of them, and the other one is actually a length of 12, so we'll know which scan we're supposed to do. The significant positions. What a significant position is this is in the scan which locations, so which location within the scan is going to be significant or used for selecting the batch sequence. So just to keep this simple, I'm going to leave this set to 1. So what this means, if I leave this set right here, is that the scan is going to be 10 characters long, and the first position is the position that we're going to select the batch sequence off of. And this will make sense as we step through this. So if I name this, I'm actually going to name this scan 1 just to make it simple. Name it scan 1. For saved positions, if I leave this empty, it's going to save all 10 positions of the scan. If I just want to save a specific position, maybe position 1 or 2 or the first 5, you can do that as well. Keep in mind on the PF6000, you can put them each in individually, so you could separate them with a comma, or you can separate them with a dash, so that would mean save positions 1 through 5. For this example, I'm going to leave it blank just because we want to save all 10 positions. So I just set up scan 1. Now I'm going to close it, and I'm going to go to the second scan. So if I click into this one, we're going to do the same thing, right? So I'm going to name it scan 2. Oh, just a second. Scan 2. Let's set the length. I told you earlier the length is actually 12 of my second barcode, and I'm going to make the significant position 1 on this one as well. I'm going to empty out the saved positions because I want all 12 positions to save to the rundown. So now I've got my scan very, very basically set up, but this could work. So how do we assign those significant positions a value? So if we click into this edit button, this is where we need to go. What you'll notice in here is string contains, and then we have this field to fill in. So these are just defaults. That's why they're just A, B, C, D, E, F. So what we're going to do is I'm actually going to delete the ones that we're not using. And what I'm going to do is actually set up the string contains. So if I look at my barcode, I can see the 10 position, the first digit is a 2. So if the first digit is a 2, and then I look at my second scan's first position is an 8. So 2 and 8 are going to be the two significant positions. That would be from scan 1, and this would be the first position of scan 2. So that's what the string is going to contain, and we're going to activate this batch sequence. If we wanted to add additionals, what we can do is just hit the plus button, and maybe 3 and 8 can select a different batch sequence. Now, I only have one batch sequence made, but this is how we can set up a scanner to select multiple different batch sequences. So let's make sure that this actually worked. So what we're going to do is step back out of here. We're going to go back out to our main screen. So what we just did is we actually created a source batch. Now, to identify it, I'm going to name it. So I'm going to name it scanner. Then I'm going to go back out to my main menu. Now to assign that, we've just created the configuration. I need to assign it. In this specific example, I have a scanner on my wireless tool. So that means that I don't need to pair up a scanner or anything like that because it's built into my tool. So if I come in here, you can see that I have my tool assigned. For my task, I'm actually going to go to choose task. I'm going to go to sources, and you can see there's this scanner. So if I select scanner, what you'll notice is on my tool itself, if I go to my results tab, I'm going to scan my first scan. So there's my first scan. So you can tell that it was the correct identifier length, and you can see that I had a 2 in the first position. So now it's looking for a second scan, and there's my second scan, and you can see that it started my batch sequence. So what you can see is we're actually running, and we can run through my batch sequence. And I've got a bunch of different rundowns set up in here, so as we step through it, what you'll notice is all of these rundowns have the scans associated with them. So you can see scan 1, scan 2, and what happens is the VIN number is actually just both of the scans truncated together. So if I step through, I can finish my batch sequence, and it finishes. You can see that we're all complete up here, and you can see we had all of the rundowns, we have the data tied to the serial numbers, and that is all there is to it. So that's how you set up a scanner to work on a PowerFocus 6000. Now there can be some additional things to consider if you have multiple scans, if you have free order scanning, but ultimately there's only a couple of settings, so setting up a scanner on the PowerFocus 6000 is pretty simple. So I hope that this has been helpful for you. If you do have any additional questions, please feel free to contact your Atlas Copco marketing team and we can try and get you some answers.